Well, welcome everybody to another edition of our Life West Leadership Line. I'm Dr. Ron Oberstein, president of Life West. And today we have with us a gentleman who I became very close friends with, known him for many, many years, but we've been doing so much work in chiropractic over the last 4.5 to 5 years. I have Dr. Wayne Wolfson with me. He's president of NCMIC. And welcome, Wayne. First of all, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Ron. Great to see you.
And I want to introduce you. I want to just give you a thorough introduction. Wayne is a 1977 graduate of Palmer College. Right after his graduation, he went straight to Florida, where he still is sitting at this moment. And he had a booming practice, which he'll talk to us about. He served in regulatory seats. He was on the board of the Florida Chiropractic Board of Examiners for 11 years. He participated in the FCOB, in the National Board of Chiropractic Examiners. He was on the site team visits for CCE. So he's done a tremendous amount, and he's also a fellow of the Academy, of the Palmer Academy, which is a very, very big honor. So Wayne, welcome to the show. And I know that you're going to drop a bunch of pearls of wisdom on us today. So you ready to jump into it?
Let's have at it.
Here we go. All right. First of all, share with us, man. You graduated in 77. You know, it's so nice to be able to talk to someone who's 4 years chiropractically my elder, right? You know, because I graduated in 1981, and it's wonderful to be the youngster on the show right now. Though we were talking earlier about Jack Donovan, right? Who were both youngsters too. But what was it like? Talk to us about the practice and how you got out, and went right to Florida, and what was going on in those days.
Sure. Well, I graduated from Palmer, as you said, in 1977. And I really didn't have an idea of where I wanted to go. I wanted to go wherever the opportunity was. At that time, I put an ad in Chiropractic Economics, and it said, highly motivated recent Palmer graduate seeks associateship opportunity with partnership or buyout opportunity. So the call that I received was from a gentleman in Winter Park, Florida, which is a few miles from Orlando. I met him on a Friday morning, and he was seeing patients. He'd come in and out. He saw, 30 patients during the time that I was there. And between each of the patients, he and I would chat. When I was getting ready to leave, he said to me, do you have any interest? Would you like to think about this? I said, I don't need to think about it. I like this. So I came back, and I was 1 week out of school. I was a week out of school, and I had come to Florida to take the state licensing board. And I met his wife on the following Monday. And on Tuesday, he said, do you want to come into practice with me? So 1 week out of Palmer, I said, you bet, I'm all in.
Isn't it crazy? I mean, and I think what people have to understand, especially people who graduated like in the 90s and maybe 2000 for sure. I mean, back in, the 70s and 80s, it was like you just kind of got out. Either you went into a practice like that, which were few and far between, right? As compared to going and hanging a shingle up, But you knew that you wanted to, you knew what you wanted to do.
Well, I knew that I really wasn't ready to hang a shingle up myself. I knew I needed a little more mentoring and learning, quite honestly. While I had gotten a great Palmer education, I really, in 1977, I was a young guy and really not ready for seeing patients on my own and having the knowledge to do it. So it was great.
So how far afterwards, did you buy him? Obviously, you bought him out, right?
Well, actually, he was true to the ad, and 3 years into it, we came to an agreement that I would become a 50-50 partner with him. And we did that over a period of 4 years that I started at 25% of the practice. And then I bought another piece and another piece until 4 years later, we were 50-50 partners. And, most people really wouldn't become 50-50 partners with another individual. in those days, you didn't see that model. But I think what he saw was someone who was motivated, and he saw that we were probably better together than we would be individually. So it was a great experience. He and I practiced together for 15 years. And during that time, we established 3 more practices in the community, bringing in other doctors who, again, bought us out of those. And then at 15 years, he and I were kind of going in little different directions, as you would imagine. I was getting ready to start a family, and sometimes that has some effects on it. But in any case, he remained where he was, and I went into downtown Orlando, which is 4 miles away. I didn't have any restricted covenant, but I was really ingrained in the Orlando community, the downtown business community. I had become involved in our Chamber of Commerce, which was the 6th largest chamber in the country, and ultimately became the chairman of the chamber, which was an outstanding way for me to help grow the practice, as it gave me access to the real leaders in our community, whether they were the Disney leaders or the people from Universal, the large banks, the hospital systems. So it was a terrific experience. And, I practiced downtown, as I said. I had a woman join my practice who was a life graduate, who practiced with me for 25 years and remains in that practice. And
Wayne, I want to share something because I think I think people should know this because we've talked about this in the past. You were seeing hundreds of patients a day, throughout in those clinics.
Not multiple hundreds, not multiple.
Well, 100 plus, I should say. And you were moving, and you had a lot going on. But I think that the key is, and I think here's a key takeaway, is that and I just want to say this about you, just as a friend, and as a colleague, that you are a wonderful communicator, and on a very positive level, networker, because it's all about relationships. And even in the work you're doing now, which we'll get into in a little bit, it is about relationships. And I think for our viewers to know, no matter how old you are or how young you are, get involved in your chamber, get involved where you get to be with these people who are decision makers in your community, right? And be able to at least, when they have a question about healthcare, they're going to call you or see you at a meeting or talk to you, or how do we integrate what you're doing in Disney or whatever it is. It's, no matter how big a community or how small a community, right?
Yeah. And it really gave me lots of opportunities, as an example, in joining managed care. As we all know, some of us are in and some of us aren't as fortunate and are not. And there was a time when I had difficulty in getting into some of those networks. But when I called my fellow chamber board member who had access and had 50,000 employees from Disney, and they called an insurance carrier, their call meant something to them. It was, so relationships have been very, very important along the way.
Yeah, and fostering those. And I do say this, and I say this, please take this humbly, but, you are one of the key people that I know that know how to foster relationships but authentically. You can tell when someone's just BSing and when someone's like really authentic. And Wayne, that authenticity just comes through, not just in your words, but in your actions,
Back at you, my friend.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Meanwhile, let's talk about this, and thank you for sharing that. We're celebrating something this year at Life West, and you're celebrating something this year at your company, as president of NCMIC. We are celebrating at Life West, as you know, our 40th anniversary, right? Once again, you're the senior. You got me beat, man. But, right now you are in your 75th year.
Correct.
Huge. Is that diamond? Is it silver? I don't know how. Diamond. Yeah, diamond. And I will be sending you a diamond. I won't tell you whether it'll be, if it's really big, don't bite on it. It might be a zircon, but I want you to know that that congratulations, first of all. I mean, I really mean that. And your company, NCMIC has been doing amazing things, in our profession. And though we don't usually, this isn't about promoting, but I think it's important for our viewers to know, 75 years in our profession is a long time. And we have to talk about where it came from, because if we go back, 75 years, our profession was 50 years old, right? So we're talking about, it was, where were we? 1895 plus 50 is 1945, right? 46. Good. Yeah, 46, because we're 21. So anyways, share with us, like, how did you guys even get established and what was the deal?
NCMIC, as I said, was established 1946 by chiropractors for chiropractors when no one would insure us for our chiropractic malpractice needs. So a chiropractor would pay $15 a quarter and have $5,000 worth of insurance. We were founded in Webster City, Iowa. In actually another interesting thing, it was in Carl Cleveland's grandparents' office. Was our first office. So we had very humble beginnings, and we had one product, the malpractice product. Yeah. Over time, we grew and started to grow, and we said, well, what do our people need? How can we serve them? What were they telling us? And we started offering other lines. So along with our malpractice insurance, we began offering to them things like long-term disability, a BOP policy, business owners and general liability, all types of different insurance products, as well as financial services products, including merchant processing, providing loans through working capital, giving equipment financing, and most recently, during the COVID crisis, NCMIC became a PPP provider, providing funding for those whose businesses had been impacted by the pandemic. So we're really very excited about that.
And Wayne, listen, I know, Mike McCoy, who's kind of heading that brand, or at least he was, I know he doesn't work in that, but he's heading that and doing things around that. And he's, one of your chief executives. I'm just amazed. I mean, and I know that because I had, doctors call me up and say, God, I'm going through my bank and it's such a nightmare. And I just don't have that. Because, the banks at that time for the first rollout were really focusing on the big fish, right? They didn't want someone who had $18,000 instead of someone who had 180 or 1.8 million or whatever it was, right? Because obviously there's points that go in their directions. And I started sending people to you guys, and it was like, they just felt like they had they were taken care of, not even handheld, like hand on their shoulder, walking them through this maze and saying, don't worry, or actually put your hands on my shoulders and let me lead you. And that's the experience they had. And that's so important, for our doctors, and to keep their offices open and keep people to come in. It was just amazing.
Well, as we know, the PPP process kept changing on a daily basis. And ultimately, there was a first round, and it was only banks that were included. We have a finance company, and while we're not a bank, we were one of, I believe, 10 organizations in the United States was approved to become a PPP lender. So our focus was on our chiropractors, the chiropractic profession, and we were very fortunate to have assisted several hundred chiropractors, and we got all types of testimonials where people are saying, you saved my practice, I wouldn't still be in business. And what I'm really proud of is that at this point on round one, almost, I believe 95% of the loans have been fully forgiven. Yeah. So they've gone away. So we're now in round two. And our round two, once again, we're having great success in helping doctors and lots of doctors.
Yeah, and all they have to do is just reach out, right? And we'll put it underneath. It'll be underneath. It's underneath probably right now of where they can go to if someone is interested in round two and
Sure.
able to make that. But
let me just say, if they've had round one, they don't necessarily need to go back to the same provider.
Yeah.
And we're not suggesting not to, but we're there for them, and that's what we're about.
Yeah, yeah. And I will tell this to our listeners, one of the hardest things is, or the most difficult, I'd say, the way to navigate is to have the loan be forgiven. There's work that has to be done with that. And when you know that someone like yourself or your team is there to do it instead of a bank that might be, working with 400 other people and you're not a big fish at all, it gets worrisome sometimes. Is it going to be forgiven? Is it not? So I just thank you for taking care of the chiropractors and for literally walking them through it, because it is important. And I will say every single person that I sent your way when I found out that you guys were doing this, who talked about the issues they were having with their lenders and people to walk through it, every one of them has said it's been a phenomenal experience. So thanks.
Well, and thank you for the opportunity to assist those people. Again, that's the mission, or part of the mission of NCMIC, to assist the practitioners.
Yeah, and I think that it's really important too for our viewers to understand that when you started, going back 75 years ago, in the garage of Caro Cleveland the First. We call him C1, right? And then his son, of course, Caro Cleveland II, was C2. And now, of course, at Cleveland College, is Caro Cleveland, a friend of mine, the third, which we call C3. But in C1, and, he was prolific in chiropractic and the things that he did and how he operated. But the reason why it was formed, I think, is the most important, because it gave chiropractors that they were not insured by anyone else. And we had to, once again, fund ourselves, right? We had to take care of ourselves. And then this spawned out of that. And the chiropractors were able to have the care that they needed and have the malpractice that they needed, and it's just important. And now we've grown into this huge thing, and it's beautiful. We can go all the way back to the garage of Caro Cleveland. Let's talk about the future. Like where you see, all the different hats you've had and all the different seats you've been on, and in our profession, where you see the future of chiropractic. Tell me how you see it.
I'm really optimistic about the future. We see that the public is accepting of chiropractic much more than when you and I got out in the late 70s and the early 80s. We've seen that through Gallup, and we are obtaining cultural authority. So I see us being accepted into all types of healthcare systems. We're being integrated, and people are finding the benefits of chiropractic. Particularly with the opioid crisis, people are understanding more that they don't need to have necessarily pharmacology all the time, but chiropractic is certainly on the top. I'm really, really excited about chiropractic's involvement in the VA system. Chiropractic started there in 2004 or 2005. There was a pilot program where chiropractic was included, I believe, in 3 or 4 different facilities. At this point, we're in 200 facilities with over 250 doctors who are directly employed by VA. Yeah. And I would give one of our board members, Tony Lisi, a shout out, as he directs that program and really has done an incredible job with the VA as it grows. Also,
and Wayne, there is, I can't think of a group of people. Everybody deserves to have their nervous systems checked and their spines checked for subluxation. But I couldn't think of a group of people who then are veterans, who have been through whatever they've been through, whether it was Vietnam or wherever it might have been, that just want the opportunity to be checked, and they depend on the VA for their benefits, right? And it's such an important population for us to take care of, right?
Yeah, and no doubt with that VA, what also is so important is that chiropractors are now included in VA residencies.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, we've got about, I believe, 20 residents who are now a part of the VA. So they interact with all other types of healthcare individuals, and it's really wonderful. I'm also excited, Ron, you and I have chatted about the fact that NCMIC is funding 2 fellowships in the coming years, one at Harvard and one at Yale.
Yale, yeah.
The one at Harvard, the individual who's a DC graduate and will end up with a master's in public health will focus on research and will be at Harvard working with other fellows. And then the individual who will get also an MPH at Yale is going to focus on public policy.
Yeah.
And
huge.
Yeah.
Huge. I mean, our viewers have to understand this, Wayne, because when we have a seat at the table around healthcare policy, that is gigantic, right? And when they hear our message and how we can put it like this right now, right? You know, where has the messaging been the last year about eating well, you know, drinking plenty of water, getting out and exercise, all the immunity boosting things? But the message hasn't been there because we're not in that public policy. Even having your nervous systems, your immune system functioning healthy, you know, that's the kind of things that we have to get to, and it's huge.
And as these individuals interact with other fellows from other professions, that's how chiropractic will grow. So we're really very excited about it. NCMIC is proud to be sponsoring these individuals, and we will reimburse for all of what they get. We're taking care of their tuitions, and they'll ultimately end up not only with their chiropractic degrees that they already have, but they're going to end up with Harvard and Yale diplomas. Yeah. I'm really excited about all of the chiropractic research that's going on. As you know, back in 1995, we began the NCMIC Foundation with the goal of and this was Lou Sportelli's goal, who is the president of the foundation, of getting a corpus of $25 million to raise $25 million. We're currently at about 16 or 17 million, much of which has been donated by the company as well as other chiropractors. But his idea is that if we had 25 million, it would kick off $1 million each year that could go into chiropractic research. So currently we have funded $16 million in research, and some of the studies are work being done by Heidi Havoc on neuroplasticity, Stephanie Sullivan at Life, who's finding the benefits of manipulation and how it affects depression. We're really quite excited. We provided a seed grant to 2 researchers, Ronnie Evans and Gert Bronford at the University of Minnesota. And with that seed study and funding, that has turned into a $14.7 million NIH grant.
Wow, that's great. That's great. Hey, and us. I mean, you know, you guys are participating, you know, in funding with us with Life West for our telomere study. I mean, there is a lot, and you're doing. I mean, thank you, because, you know, everyone clamors, but the truth is we do need more research, and we've never had the benefit, as the medical profession has had, you know, to have all this money coming in for research. You know, we're pretty much self-funded, aren't we? Right? Yeah. It's pretty much what it is.
Regretfully, Big Pharma is not funding us yet.
Exactly. But I want to bring something up, Wayne, because you brought something up, and I think it's really important to clarify. You know, when we talk about like going to Yale, going to Harvard, when we talk about having the seat at the table, you know, a lot of people come out and they'll go, oh, well, then we're just selling out, or we're doing this or doing that. And I think what people need to understand is that, you know, we deserve to have a seat at the table. I remember being with Dr. Sid Williams in Washington, D.C., and, you know, that guy had a seat at a lot of tables. He did not lose his identity. He did not lose, you know, what chiropractic is, you know, the detection, correction of subluxations, right? And allowing the body to function as a self-healing, self-regulating organism. being at the table does not mean that you give that up. Being at the table means you bring that in, and that's amazing,
You're absolutely right. And as you know, recently a book has come out, Contain and Eliminate, talking about how chiropractic, how the AMA wanted to destroy us. So now we're a part of healthcare, and we need to tell our story. People need to see the benefits, and that's what we are seeing as people understand what chiropractic does. And as we show through our research the benefits and the effects of it, we're only going to be in a better place.
That's right.
Those are exciting things.
And I want to give a shout out because I purchased, Contain and Eliminate, and I was around. I remember seeing Dr. Wilk and Chester Wilk and that whole crew there, right, of what they went through to fight the medical association, right, the AMA, and and I got the book and I read the book and it's unbelievable. I ordered 10 more, right, which I know they're coming out sometime this month, I believe, or next month. I know that. Then I'm waited with bated breath for them to land on my doorstep. But it really is. It was an amazing book to read because it brought me back to the historical roots of how we stood up and how we fought, and what Chester Wilk and his group, went through, right, to stand up and fight Goliath. It was really a David and Goliath battle, and how mysteriously that envelope came on the doorstep. And I won't give the story away, but it's a movie. Like it really is a movie. It's incredible, So please, if you're out there listening and you have not seen it, we will put it down below here right now of how you can order that book. Order it, but I will tell you to order a few of them so you can give some as gifts to friends. And I believe all the money goes to the research, right? Does it go to the...
It's being divided up. The Foundation for Chiropractic Progress is receiving a portion of it. The NCMIC Foundation is receiving a portion. And I believe that there's one other group, but I can't.
Yeah, we know it's going toward good stuff, and that's the key. Wayne, thank you, man. We kind of hit our witching hour. We can go on, and you've been such a pleasure to have and to talk with, and we always enjoy talking to each other. But just from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you and your company for all that you do, have done, and will continue to do, along with NCMIC, for our profession, to serve our profession. I think people should know that the PPP, if they're going to do that, they don't have to be a member of NCMIC to get that done. I mean, even if they want to have other types of insurance, right? You guys are inclusive of everybody. And I just want to say, I want to thank you for that. I also want to thank you for being at our chiropractic summits that Life West has put on, our diversity and inclusion summits. You were the first ones to say we're there and showed up, and the things you're doing in Iowa around your company to bring more awareness to diversity and inclusion and all the things that you're doing, the progressiveness of your company. I just want to thank you for that. And thank you for just being who you are, the authentic person you are.
Well, it's been my pleasure to chat with you, Ron, and I'm really proud of our friendship. You've brought so much to the profession, and you're really doing an incredible job at Life West. And I'm looking forward to seeing you at the Wave in August.
Yes.
I'm really hoping that I see you before then.
Yes, we will. But I want to be on the ground, and that's what we're going to do. So thank you, Wayne, and thank you to all of our listeners today and viewers today for being with myself and Dr. Wayne Wolfson, going over the beautiful things that we talked about. We'll be coming back at you again with our next episode of our Life Leadership Line. Remember, until then, keep hugging those people around you. Spread the love. Spread chiropractic to as many people as you can, and let people know that within them they have an ability to heal that's far greater than anything they were ever led to believe, right? Because when they start understanding their ability to heal, that's when these light bulbs are going to start going off, and they'll start understanding that there's ways that they can take care of themselves that they never thought of. So thank you again, Wayne. Thanks for being our guest, and until next time, see you later.
Thanks. Stay safe.
Thanks, Wayne.